Hi everyone, it's Amy Hargreaves and I'm here with FrConventions and I'm really happy to have a little conversation with you guys today. As a mom of two actual teenagers during the period that we were shooting 13 Reasons Why, it was actually very enlightening for me to work with Dylan, you know, who's playing Clay, to bring that to life because, you know, I live in New York City and my kids grew up in New York City, which is not really the same experience that we had on the show. But, you know, as a parent, it's kind of the same concerns that you have, you know, in real life or in fiction. And I feel like being an actual mom of teenagers at the time that we were shooting it was very helpful to me. So, yeah, that was kind of good luck for me. My son is now 21. So when I started working on 13, he was 16. So it was literally, and my daughter was, I think, 13. So it was literally perfect. Like I was just like, yeah, I got this. I know what's going on here. You know, so it was really more about connecting with the actors that I was playing with. Which wasn't hard because they did such a good job casting, and we just kind of fell into it very quickly. Not mother and son, but more like colleagues and friends. To be honest, he's a grown up. He's a great kid. Yeah, so maybe a little bit, maybe a little like older sister or something like that. But Dylan is very mature and very grown up. You know, he's been working since he was a child. So he's kind of got his act together, you know, and obviously with Wallows, he's a really talented musician and does so well. I've just kind of had a good time watching him grow throughout the time that I've known him and kind of blossom into even a more kind of evolved artist than he was when we started in 2016, you know. I've been lucky enough to go see him play a few times. A bunch of us went to see Wallows at Outside Lands, you know, the big music festival in San Francisco, because, you know, we were shooting out there. I've seen Wallows play in New York. Yeah, so it's not so much mother-son, but more like, you know, colleagues and friends. I mean, what do I think of this run? I think when I first heard, I think Brandon maybe told me ahead of me reading the script because we're a year or two out now, so I can talk about this, but I think he had lunch with Brian Yorkie, the showrunner of the show. And I think Brian told Brandon, then Brandon told us. And I know I cried. I like literally cried because I found it so beautiful and so emotional. And I thought it was lovely, and it showed the love that these characters had for each other, you know? And I thought that was beautiful. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. I thought it was interesting to bring, you know, it's 13 is a show that has brought so many interesting topics on the table for a lot of young people who don't really, they maybe haven't gotten a chance to talk about these things before. Obviously suicide and things that are really, really difficult to talk about. And now kind of we've gotten conversations started about some of these things. So with Justin's death in the last season, it's, you know, there's a lot of young people who have no idea what the AIDS crisis was like. And maybe it got them thinking about it. Maybe it got somebody going to the internet. Maybe it got somebody talking to their friend about it. And so I think it was very helpful, maybe in that regard. But also, I mean, just as a story, everybody loves Brandon Flynn. And you know, if you're going to kill somebody off, you better kill off like the character everybody loves. You know, a funny story about that is we shot, so we were doing the final season, okay? the graduation sequence. So I think we started to shoot in, I want to say July, August of 19, before the pandemic. And we wrapped in December. So in principle, we should have been shooting the last episode, the graduation, Justin's death, in December, November, December. However, because we shot in an actual school, we needed to get as much as we could at the actual school before school started. So we shot all the graduation exteriors and interiors actually in August. So before we shot the entire last season, we're shooting that graduation sequence. So Brandon Flynn is in a cap and gown in the crowd. We had Alicia and Dylan giving their speeches. It was hot as hell. It was like 100 degrees out. Me and Josh Hamilton are up in the stands with umbrellas. Like everybody had umbrellas. It was so hot. And then they're like, okay, rolling. Everybody put their umbrellas down and put them at their feet. And we had no idea what was going on. All we knew, we had seen the scenes where Dylan is speaking about people who died. We're like, wait, how many? I think Dylan said something about there was like 4 funerals, 3, I forget. There's this many funerals. We're all like, huh? What? Wait, who? What? We had no idea. So we're shooting the kids doing their speeches. Then they flip the camera and there's like the camera's on a crane because me and Josh Hamilton are literally in the middle of the crowd with 1,000 people. We have no idea what's going on. We're just sitting watching. Brian Yorkie Brian directed, the showrunner directed that episode. He comes from half a mile away from behind the stage where the kids were, walks, comes all the way up the steps to me and Josh. And he's like, come on. We kind of step off to the side. And he's like, yeah, so Brandon is the one who's gonna die. So just know, and we were literally coming to our coverage where like the crane was coming in and seeing it. He's like, yeah, he's gonna die. And he was like, we haven't decided if it's gonna be like a drug overdose or AIDS. We were like, what? Like and he's like, don't tell anybody, you're the only ones who know. So me and Josh immediately start bawling because we were so moved by the idea of it. And then they're like, okay, action. And we're like, so I think the coverage that you see of us is like 3 minutes after Brian Yorkie told us Brandon's character was gonna die. And so we held that for the entire, so that was maybe August, let's say, until November when the scripts came out that told the storyline of Justin dying. Josh Hamilton and I were like, we did it. We kept the secret for months. Anyway, so that's that story. That project for me was like a gift, to be honest. It was, I started that job about 10 years ago, which was a time when my kids were young. I had just gotten divorced. I had worked a lot when I was younger as an actress. And then like, I kind of slowed down, got married, had kids. So for me personally, I was coming out of a period where it was a little bit more quiet. And then I booked this huge job, which I knew Claire Danes. I didn't know much about the project. Claire Danes, CIA, Showtime, playing her sister. And I was like, I had auditioned with like a 2-page scene. But when I got the job, I was like, oh wow, this is a big deal. I could feel it, Then I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and they had filmed the pilot already, but with a different actress playing Damian Lewis's wife, playing Miranda Baccarin's role. So they gave me like a DVD of the pilot that they had shot with a different actress in Miranda's role. And I watched it and I was like, oh my God, this show is so good. I knew it, and even though they recast that role and a couple of the roles, I was like, wow, this is enormous. So how did it feel? It felt like a gift. And I felt really fortunate to be among these writers, these directors, these producers, these other actors. Obviously working with Claire for so long was just fantastic. So yeah, I feel really fortunate. It's funny, I was just talking to someone about this last night, and it happens all the time. I was talking to a woman whose sister-in-law in real life has bipolar disorder. And she was telling me how she and her husband, the brother of the woman who is mentally ill, watched Homeland and were like, yep, 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 yep. We see that, we see that. And I'll tell you what I told her is that our writers did so much research, and one of our principal writers had a sister who had bipolar disorder, and she principally wrote for me, like for my character. So we had, from the ground up, a very solid, no one was just kind of making stuff up. They were going deep and writing from really authentic stories, like the Homeland did with the CIA and, the government and all that. They did the same thing for our storyline, which actually helped me because it felt very authentic and it just came off the paper in a very real way. So. Je suis très contente de partager ma petite vie avec vous et de parler de 13 Reasons Why, de Homeland et de plein de choses. Donc, à bientôt.